I've done I've done all taught lots of different uh, um, systems of understanding ourselves over the years. Always come back to Sid and the three principles, because what happens over time, over a year or 2 years, or whatever you do with whatever it is you're teaching, is you get lost in the form. And one day you wake up and you think, oops, you know, oops, I'm in I'm in this box, right? I'm in this box. And I have just forgotten that I have the freedom to pick this form, and that's what's important, not the box. Um, does that make sense at all? I mean, does that?
Yes, yes. I was just wondering, do you have an example of that? Because I have an example of that from a client, but I'd like to hear your example from.
I'd like to hear your example.
Okay. So, yeah, this delightful client. I mean, he's a super brain. He's so smart. He's young, mid-20s. He's in, a very enviable position in his work. And he gets really caught up in not being good enough, judging himself, and wondering, why do we have to be alive, even? He's like the existentialist. Why? I don't get what's so great about this. And of course, I want to say, oh my God, you know, um, but I don't. I hold back, I listen. And you know what he said recently? He said, I think I like feeling sad. And that's
Mm,
free will. I said to him, in fact, well,
mm,
that's free will. There is a depth, a feeling of depth when we're really super sad. As a kid, I would choose to watch Shirley Temple movies so that I could feel sad. I don't know if any of you had that experience. This dates back before Julia's time, but yeah, there's something luscious about that. There's something really deep and human, and it doesn't last forever. That's that's the key. We're going to experience what we're thinking as long as we're thinking it. It's so simple. Anyway, that's my example. Anybody else have one?
yeah, grief is like that. Grief
Yeah.
is so sweet.
Oh, yeah.
It's so sad and so sweet, and it's so close to joy and gratitude. Now, uh, for me, it's been a challenge not to become addicted to that. You know, kind of like that feels so sweet and so real. That, like you say, eventually it becomes less, and then one day, while you're in the middle of it, I, I guess you can be awake in the middle of that too, as long as you understand that you're using your free will to bring alive those feelings. It helps heal. It helps heal. Because when a wave, I'm just talking about my little dog, right? You know, so when that wave comes over your head, uh, there's just this little piece of you that's saying, it's okay, it's okay. This is a this is what you need to feel to heal, and it's your free will. and it's the voice of your, that little thing is the voice of your consciousness. Just saying, okay, it's all right. It's all right. I'm here, I'm peaceful, I'm quiet, I'm awake, I'm aware, and I'm just part of this experience with you.
Mhm. Beautiful. No, it's just really beautiful. Yeah. And then something in life catches your attention and you have a different experience. And then you go back, you have a memory of your little dog, and you go back and you feel that grief again. And then you get distracted by something else in life.
Yeah,
Life is just such a tapestry,
it
a
is.
weaving of feeling, emotion.
And one of the things that I really, I don't say enjoy about deep grief for loss is that it shows you that it's all okay, like you say, it's a tapestry. And if you've been, holding back or denying your feelings of insecurity and the things that scare you, um, this, it can open a door to richer
Mhm.
feelings. And afterward you say, oh my gosh, that was awful. That grief and that sadness was just awful. And I feel somehow more connected to the world and myself now than I was before. Life is a little richer
Mhm.
on the gratitude side.
Beautiful. Yes. The holding back that people do because they're afraid to feel. Remember that
Yeah.
quote you guys by said about if people could just be okay with feeling, we'd live in a different world. There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with feeling up, down, sideways. What's behind that is the free will to take care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And the wisdom to know how to do that.
Right? We could always tap into the wisdom when we feel lost in grief or sadness or what's it all about, thinking that we can always know that behind that, we're capable of taking care of ourselves. We don't have to drink ourselves into oblivion. We don't have to look for some street drug in order to feel better because we're okay with feeling whatever we're feeling and we know it's temporary. We don't have to get out of it. We can fully feel it, and wisdom will automatically show us by distracting us onto something else. It'll always show us that it's always temporary. We don't have to do a damn thing.
I know somebody that's been anxious and depressed for a long, long time. Long, long time. And I always wonder what insight can they have, or what environment can they be in, or what life experience might they have that would cause that track to change. They search. for answers. They search for techniques and ways to deal with how they are. And they all work for a little bit. And over the years, 7, 8 years, I've seen the same thing happen over and over again. And I'm thinking right now, you know what? It's just not their time. There's something about where they are and who they are that it's just not their time yet for them to do that in the present. It's just not, I don't know how else to describe that.
Yeah, I get that too, Ellen. That everybody's on their journey. And
Yeah.
I mean, looking back, I spent years being down and out, feeling not good enough, and what's wrong with me, and all of that BS. Years. And that very thing informed me be able to hear something of what Sid was talking about. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if I had just an ordinary, simple life and, I don't have to think about being taking care of myself and being taken care of by some wealthy husband or some wealthy daddy, and I don't have to think about anything. Where would that bring me? Unless I'm hit over the head with some kind of epiphany, like what happened to Sid. But how often does that happen? I really think that our journey, our difficult journey, is the very thing that informs us to open up to possibility, infinite possibility.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
I think George a long time ago, he said, you limp, right? So you go through life limping, and then one day you see, oh, wait a minute, I got a rock in my shoe. So you take the rock out, and all of a sudden it's like, OMG, I'm not limping anymore. This is life has been like that, bam, 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 bam. Meet Sid, bam, oops. What's this? You mean this doesn't have to be? And then a month later, you're doing this again. And you think, what am I doing? I was so happy there for a while. And then after you do that a while, bam, that comes back again. And you're free again from that. And you may continue over the years to every once in a while start doing this. But having had this experience where you're not doing that, there's another way. There's another way. And I have the freedom to choose that.
Like Elaine might have something to say.
Nope, I'm just taking it all in.
Oh, good.
I'd be interested, Julia. So it's been so long since we saw you. So, what are you thinking? What are you thinking there, my friend?
Yeah.
I'm definitely taking it all in too. It's been so long, and it feels like I've been feeling down and out this past like holiday season, and yeah, it's like December is always really tough because like I went home to see my parents for Christmas, and 3 years ago my older brother had overdosed and passed away.
Yeah.
And I have a younger brother that's in the service right now, so it's just me that's going home. And it's so tough every time because like I go home and there's all the pictures on the wall of us when we were kids. And it made me realize, like, I didn't bring it up because I actually had brought my boyfriend home for the first time. So like I didn't bring it up about what I was really feeling because I wanted it to be a happy time. Like, you're seeing my childhood home for the first time. We're visiting my parents. It's Christmas. Like, keep everything positive. But this past weekend, we went to visit one of his buddies in Maryland for New Year's Eve. And we went to a comedy show. And at the end of the comedy show, one of the last jokes that the comedian said was something about like, okay, like it's the holiday season. I know it's like a tough time. People are like thinking about loved ones. And like he said he recently lost his mom. And like, I didn't hear anything after he said, I didn't even hear what the joke was. I remember just getting in my head and feeling really down, trying to like hide the tears. And then I hear people like laughing at whatever the joke was. And I realized I just completely like zoned out. And then so I go to the bathroom. I'm like trying to get myself together because we're out with his buddies and like we're in a bar. Like I'm like, okay, I do not need to be crying here. And then it hit me that when my brother had passed, the grief didn't feel negative. Like it only felt like such a positive feeling because I'm reliving all the good memories I had with him. And we had like all of our family there and like we supporting one another and like all of it felt so good and so rich. And I can see what Alan you meant about it feeling almost like addicting because it was like I gave myself the grace to feel what I was feeling in the moment. And looking on it now, years later, I'm almost being hard on myself and not letting myself feel it because I think that I should be okay because it happened 3 years ago and like now I should be okay. And I've been shutting down the feelings instead of just feeling them. So I've been living in this kind of like haze of I should be okay and I'm going to act okay, but the feelings are still there. Yeah. So
Thank you. Thank you for that story. Thank you.
Ditto. Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. See how innocent it is. Yeah. We try to make it okay for other people, not realizing that sharing what's going on for us in the moment. Boy, you really brought out some tears here.
Well, that's how
That,
I was
wow.
thinking that like just now I'm like I've been hiding being human and the way that we relate to each other and what the holidays is about is just literally being ourselves and people loving us for who we are and being able to relate to that, like the inside of who we are. And had I just shown it, like things would have gone so differently. And I think it would have felt richer, like just going home and being honest about what I was feeling.
It's never too late.
Yeah.
You weren't ready then, or this would have occurred to you. Isn't that interesting? Like we never literally do something bad. We're always doing the best we can given how things are looking. Of course, it looked to you like you don't want to be a Debbie Downer. This is supposed to be happy, happy, party, party. Of course. And now you have the time to reflect and you realize, you know what? And maybe it's something you want to share one-on-one. I don't know, that just came to me. You'll know, your wisdom will know when, where, if, how to share. Yes, what beautiful. Just really very touching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we're all like that. I mean, you just spoke so eloquently, Julie, about how I don't think there's one of us on this call or anyone listening to this who could not relate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and how beautiful is that? That we, like you chose being the best for your family rather than being the best for you. I mean, that's so unselfish.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And now you say, well, you know what? My time will come. I'll know it when my time will come to, you know, get together with my mom, my dad, my boyfriend, and just speak what's in my heart.
Yeah, I finally last night like opened up to my boyfriend about it because he's noticed like we've only been dating now for like 8 months, but it's enough time and like he's a police officer, so he's very sound in like the advice that he gives. And I don't give him enough credit for it because I have been just trying to hide from him how I've been feeling and he's just like something's up with you, like what is going on? And he thought like there was a problem within the relationship. And so when I finally like broke down to him and was honest about like how I've been feeling, he's like, Julia, like had you just told me when you were home, like the last night we had gotten a hotel, he's like, if you had just broken down in tears that night at the hotel, like I would have felt so much closer to you than just not talking about anything and going to dinner and like going home after that. He's like, I would have felt so much closer and would have been there and supported you. And like, it's really eye-opening to like how I didn't even give him the chance to do that. So it's just learning to, I don't know, open up and like be honest and be okay with not being okay, really.
Yeah.
And I would like to share that there's actually a song that is called It's Okay. It's by a person named Nightbird. That's her artist name.
Oh,
Her name is Jane
Nightbird.
Nightbird. And Jane passed
She's
away in
great.
February of 2022 of
Yeah.
cancer. And
Yeah.
this is why she was singing, because of what she was going through. So it's a very enlightening, beautiful song to listen to, knowing that it's okay to have our feelings and to let them show, to show our feelings. It's part of the healing process.
Elaine, did you see her on American Idol?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely heart-touching, amazing story. Amazing story.
Yes.
Nightbird.
Yes. Yes. And she wrote a poetry book, which I purchased, and her poetry is absolutely beautiful, and it really signifies what we're talking about here with the three principles and all. It's just wow.
Thank
go
you.
get that.
I'll look that up.
Yes.
Hey, Julia, this guy sounds like a winner. That's just my opinion.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
as a guy, this guy is very courageous. He's very courageous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a good one for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Julia, I don't know you at all. But I'm just curious to flip it a little bit. Have you ever had the experience where a friend, a relative, somebody on this call, whatever, gets vulnerable and says how they're feeling in real time, and they're having a tough go in that moment? Have you ever noticed yourself? You don't even have to answer this, but I wondered if somebody reveals their sadness, their concern, their worries, whatever, in the real time, in the moment, have you, as the other person, said, ooh, very weird. I'm out. Julia out. Or have you said, or have you been kind of drawn in and ready to give them a hug virtually, physically, or maybe if you don't know them that well, just go, I'm here, I'm listening. I'm curious, you know, you don't have to answer that, but I find for myself that whenever I'm kind of judgy about myself or I'm judgy about something else or whatever, if I kind of flip the script a little bit and put myself in that other position and go, oh, I'm always drawn to people when they express their sadness or their worry or their concern. I'm always more and I respect it and I'm there for it. I'm there for it, you know? So I go, so I now that it's me feeling vulnerable, sad, worried, concerned, I'm gonna trust that most people are probably have a humane part to them like I do, and not think that everybody's skeptical or judgy or something like that. So anyway, that's just something that occurred to me when you were speaking about being more willing, and what your boyfriend said kind of illustrates that perfectly. You know, like, oh my goodness, if you would shed a tear or two, I would have been right there for you, you know. I think that's very true no matter the level or depth of the relationship or the closeness, you know. So just something that occurred to me.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, I think in any situation where that's happened, I've only felt closer to the other person and been able to relate. So it makes sense why lately my relationships haven't felt very like full and rich this, past month or so. It's like I'm in my own head about it. And
Mhm.
I I think looking at it from that perspective, it makes total sense.
I love this discussion. You know, and what occurred to me is the perfection of it. And I don't even know if I could put words to it. But the fact that it opened up that conversation with your boyfriend for him to say, oh man, I'm here for you. If you had been able to be vulnerable and talk sooner about it, I'm not sure that that would have been conveyed in that way. That now, I mean, what a trajectory in your relationship in my mind. It's like there is nothing the two of you can talk to each other about. And had that vulnerability not occurred for you, which is also so human, my God, I'm feeling so deep. Who am I going to share this with? I just have to bury it and keep it inside me. Had you not had that experience, I don't know that. I don't know. It's all conjecture. Who knows? But it just feels all the richer because in being vulnerable and afraid to cross what might be a line socially is so human too.
Right. And I think about it too because I'm out with his friends and they're all really great people. Like, I mean, they're human and they're open and they're just all really great people. And I easily could have just told them what was up and they would have all probably just felt so much better to be having that moment together as a group and feeling like, wow, someone my age can relate even. And it's I don't know, it just brings you down to earth. And I think that it is good that, I mean, in the moment I couldn't find the words and I couldn't find the vulnerability when I went home to see my parents, but it does give me this insight now because I'm like, okay, I see how it could have gone both ways. And now it's like I've learned from that.
Mm,
And we have grown in like the relationship too. It's like now there's like this level of trust that I've allowed it to happen. And then that wouldn't have happened if had I not even been vulnerable.
right.
Yeah.
You know what word I like better than vulnerable is transparent.
Ah.
Vulnerable is vulnerable to me. There's a reason vulnerable, when we're vulnerable, we're open for something attacking. Like, you think that soft underbelly of of that word vulnerable. There's a reason why the armadillo keeps the soft underbelly. They could bleed or whatever, so I'm being silly. But transparent, the armadillo can still be not vulnerable, but say, I just need you to know that I'm feeling sad right now. I'm worried about that I lost my brother. I feel very close to tears a lot of time. And that's the armadillo, still the armadillo, still curled up maybe, but it's not vulnerable, like laying there going, and I'm worried about my brother. Do you know what I mean? For me, there's something trippy about the word vulnerable versus transparent and real. You can be that and take care of yourself in the same experience.
Yes, yes, yes. And isn't that exactly what Sid was saying?
Mhm.
Go beyond the word. And you just went beyond the word, Wendy.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, you're right. It's so easy for us to have um, interpretations, meaning. Like we have meaning with certain words. That never even occurred to me when I said that word vulnerable, but I could see absolutely how someone would take that
Mm,
word vulnerable and,
yeah.
yeah,
That
transparent.
kind of comes out of my past as a marriage educator. And if you were to say to a couple, a man and a woman, and say, "Sir, why don't you become more vulnerable?" That's like the last thing on earth that testosterone fueled men are gonna go for, is being
Yes.
vulnerable. But can they be transparent and be more revealing of what's up? Sure,
Mhm.
as long as it's not going to come back to bite me. I mean, they may say, if I reveal this, whatever that is, then that might make them vulnerable, but I see them as distinct, and
Mhm.
so anyway, enough said, but
Mhm.
That was interesting because I think,
Yeah.
yeah, that, as a guy, being vulnerable takes so much more courage than
yeah,
being transparent. I can be transparent with my wife and it doesn't go anywhere. But if I'm vulnerable with my wife, she tends to be more engaged and interested. This is
Mhm.
just my experience. But
yeah,
being vulnerable and authentic, as Brene Brown says,
yeah,
vulnerable and authentic.
yeah.
As long as
Authentic is another
as
great
long as
word.
you're not insufferable, right? I mean,
Right.
you can be vulnerable and authentic enough to drive people away. I mean, that's
That's
true.
right.
I've experienced that. True. I was in a campaign or campaign committee training meeting about a month ago. It was run by a consultant, and I was in grief because of losing my little dog. I was in grief, so I was feeling very vulnerable and authentic. So she was giving a presentation about things that we needed to do to ask donors for big bucks, right? And it was ticking me off because she wasn't giving people sitting in the room with insecure feelings about asking for money the right or the ability to be just tell us what you're scared of. So I was vulnerable and authentic. And she said, "Shut up, Alan.
Ooh,
Shut up, Alan." And at the time, I was puzzled by it because I was just speaking what was true for me. And over time, we've become great friends, actually. But that was insufferable to her. That was insufferable and over the line. So I've learned to be careful about being vulnerable
Mm.
and authentic. And most of the time it works. And I'm really well, I don't know what the word, I'm really happy to hear that your boyfriend responded to you like that, you know?
Yeah,
Is
I was
that-
Yeah.
really impressed actually. I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
wait, who is this person? Because like he's 2 years younger than me, so I'm assuming like I've learned the three principles, right? I think I'm like the master of knowledge in my ego. And then he comes out with this like so ground, like this just such good sound advice that I'm like, I didn't even give him the opportunity to use this, to hear
Yeah.
this, to even use him as an asset and as something that can help me. And I'm realizing like there's another layer of our relationship now because it's even more healthy and real than I knew it was.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool. I have one question, Julia, and I don't know about the rest of you. I'm picking up that you're in some judgment that you didn't do it fast enough or you didn't see it before you saw it. Are you?
I mean, yeah, in a way, but I guess, yeah, because we had been having sort of issues now for weeks and we couldn't figure out what the issue was. And it didn't come to me until I realized that it was my thinking about holding all of these emotions inside and I didn't realize it. So yeah, I guess I do feel bad about that.
How can any of us realize something until we realize it?
Very good. Very good. Oh, I
Have
want
you
to.
ever been able to do that, Ellen?
No,
No,
I've asked myself that
no.
about my clients many times. Many times in order to help with a process, but you can't. You can't. Well, I found that
Yeah.
Eckhart Tolle said this, and I've posted it up on my board. But I think it's so touching and gets at sort of the bottom line of what I think is true.
Oh, wow. The universe experiences itself through you for a moment called life, for a brief moment called life. Yeah,
Yeah, isn't that nice? That's kind of the impersonalness
yeah,
of what this is. You know, it feels so personal.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It does. Everything feels so personal. It's happening to me, but you know, it's not personal. It's just it's it's the universe experiencing life through me, you know, and that's very freeing,
Yes,
I think, to know
Yeah.
that.
yes. And so here's where choice and free will comes in. We can beat ourselves up for it. Shoot, why didn't I see that? Why didn't I realize that sooner? I should know that. Versus, I am so grateful I saw that. I could have gone another 8 months without seeing that. Wow.
Yes, thank you, universe.
Yeah.
Thank you, universe. Yeah.
Thank you, universe.
Oh, this has been so delightful. Wendy had to move out for a meeting at 1, and I think the same with Elaine, but what a rich time. I'm so glad you joined us, Julia.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
And of
I'm
course,
glad I
Ellen,
could.
thank
too.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So the recording will go where it usually goes, in mystery school. Have a great week. And if anybody wants to pop on in a few minutes, I'm doing the reading of Wing of an Angel in 2 minutes.
Hmm.
You know that book by Jacqueline Hollows about the prisoners she worked with in the UK?
No, I don't.
Oh,
I don't.
it's an amazing book. I made a post for it in mystery school. There's a link to the book. Yeah. You know Jacqueline Hollows from Beyond Recovery in the UK, Ellen?
No,
Oh,
I do
wow.
not.
Oh, you're in for a real treat. All right. See you next week if I don't see you
Thank
again in
you.
2 minutes.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, guys. Always a pleasure.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.